Let's bring you some news just in now. Britain and the European Union have reached a Brexit deal. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker says it's a fair and balanced agreement. And for more on the story now, we're joined by our correspondent, Ollie Barrett. Ollie, what will we talk about now a Brexit deal is concluded?
We're going to keep on talking about Brexit. You believe me, part of the reason for that is that it is not at all clear at this stage whether Boris Johnson stands any chance, the UK Prime Minister, of getting the deal that has been agreed through the UK's Parliament. We do have word from the European Commission and from Downing Street here in London that they have agreed a new deal, and that deal will now be put to European Union leaders over the next day or so at a summit in Brussels. Boris Johnson describing it as a great new deal that takes back control. He says Parliament should now get Brexit done on Saturday. And as he was saying, Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, also welcoming this deal. He's saying where there is a will, there is a deal. We have one, he says. It's fair and balanced agreement for the European Union and the UK. He says he recommends that the European Council endorses this deal over the next day or so in Brussels. But a crucial point, we do not yet believe that the DUP party of Northern Ireland, which has been propping up Boris Johnson's government in Westminster, is on board. That means it looks very, very difficult indeed for Boris Johnson to get this deal through the House of Commons on Saturday. So while a deal has been reached between the UK and EU negotiators, we are far off being able to say that Brexit is going to be done and dusted.
Ali, from what you know about the protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, how is this deal that's been reached but hasn't quite been pushed through yet, how has this deal resolved that issue?
Yeah, and we're waiting for the full details on all of that, as are, by the way, many of the EU member states who are now expected to sign off on it. But the shape of the deal that has reportedly been emerging over the last few days in talks between the UK and the EU sees Northern Ireland stay in the UK's own customs territory legally. But, crucially, it will follow the rules and regulations, we believe, of the European Union's customs union. That is considered by Downing Street to be one way of sorting that issue, which will mean you do not need any kind of border infrastructure on the island of Ireland. It would mean some checks probably in the Irish Sea on goods moving between mainland Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So a very complicated fudge, but I think many in Downing Street have always felt that that crucial issue of Ireland in all of this would have to be fudged if there was going to be a deal reached. But that is also why we're not yet sure whether the DUP party of Northern Ireland are going to back this deal. They're at the moment referring us to their earlier statement from today, which said that they were not on board with the deal that was taking shape in Brussels. And as I say, that makes it difficult for Boris Johnson to get this through Parliament.
So Ollie, the fact that, let's say he does get it through Parliament and it is passed, what does this mean for Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister who got the Brexit deal?
Yeah, look, there would be certainly many in this country who would view that as a huge victory for Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, when he came to power, said he would renegotiate with the European Union the backstop solution for the Irish border. He was told by the European Union they would not renegotiate. They have. He was told that the withdrawal agreement agreed between Theresa May's government and the European Union could not be reopened. It was reopened and has been renegotiated, if only a little. He was told by his critics he could not reach a new deal with the EU, and he has. But if he does get that deal through, then you would expect that he and his Conservative Party may well continue their recent rise in polling ahead of what is going to be an election in the not-too-distant future. But if he cannot get this deal through Parliament on Saturday, I think we are still headed for an election here in the UK, again in the not-too-distant future. And that will become an election, you would expect, a referendum almost, on the deal that he has now reached with the European Union. He will pitch that, if Parliament votes against his deal, as him fighting against Parliament to deliver Brexit on the basis of the will of the people from that 2016 referendum. His critics will say this deal's not good. His critics will say this deal is not that much different from that which Theresa May reached with Brussels and had rejected 3 times by the House of Commons here in London. But this is a significant moment for Boris Johnson's premiership, and this is a potentially significant moment for the future direction of the United Kingdom.
Our UK correspondent Ollie Barrett